Welcome to the Botten and Klumm show number 3. So, at first I have to announce that this is the first time we are live on YouTube in parallel to Facebook at the same time, in parallel of course. And I don't know if this really works out because of the bandwidth, so I bow down to the Lord of the bandwidth that this will work. Hope to get more people into it.
Nah, you gotta go for it.
So,
right? You just gotta go for it.
Good morning to Omaha. So, how was your yoga session this morning, Brian?
Yoga. Yogurt? Did you say?
I said yoga.
Oh, yoga.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, very, very good. Flexible, it's very releasing, energizing. Sure.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So,
hey, you know what? I just noticed you have the emergency shirt on today.
Yeah, we bought it together in Phoenix, Arizona when my luggage was lost from American Airlines.
And lots of very expensive equipment in it as well.
Yeah, the whole photo equipment and recording equipment. Yep. But I think we got 2 of them for $2.99 at Walgreens in the middle of the night.
Quality stuff. Yeah.
It's super fun. But the color fits perfectly to my eyes. So just have a look. Yeah,
it does.
It's made for that. So we had the idea to sum up the last show from Tuesday before we do something else. So, Brian, go.
Well, cool. All right, thanks. Yeah, we had Nick Katsavelos from Microsoft on the last show, and it was great. I always love meeting a fellow New York guy, and just bringing his experience working with digital teams, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work. One of the things that I got out of that, and I wonder if you did, is that it takes time to scale teams up. You can't just go straight for scalability. I think there are a lot of people out there acting as consultancies and advisors and just kind of going straight for the scale. Yep. I think it takes some time, and that comes back to something Nick said about this addiction to scalability, right? We seem to have this addiction to go for the big thing, but it's kind of like our program here. I mean, our live streaming, yep. We're building it up, right? People are saying, oh, you need music, you need this, you need that. We'll get there, but we want to get the quality right and do it the right way. And I also love what Nick said about individuals, not just keep thinking of people as team resources, just understanding what they need as individuals in order for them to co-collaborate as collective groups. So great show, really great. We have
great show.
Another great guest today.
Yeah, and but I just want to add, we made a deal with Nick Katsavelos last time.
Right.
So yeah, at the moment this is possible again. We will fly to New York City and have steaks and IPAs and continue this brilliant discussion. So, and today we've got a guest as well, of course, and we've got Allan Knabe. Allan Knabe, we know us for years now. We work together in the Swisscom API tribe as product managers. You are a wholehearted API product manager, and I just saw on LinkedIn that you switched to something else. You opened up your own business. It's called, I wasn't able to pronounce it right. I started with API-IO, and then you just taught me it's not API-IO, it's API-Able-IO. And so the stage is yours.
Welcome, Allan.
Thank you, Kai. Yes. Hi, Brian as well. So guys, I'm Allan Knabe, and as Kai just said, I started something new, launched this week called API-Able.io, where we're looking to produce developer portals or API portals, as well as help people with their API as products going forward. Yeah, so a little bit about myself before we start, maybe. I'm originally from Birmingham, England. But I'm not a peaky blinder. Yeah, from Birmingham, yeah. But I'm definitely not a peaky blinder, so that's okay.
I know that area. I know Wolverhampton, Staffordshire area.
Hey, there you go.
And the accent. He knows the accent. He's really good at accents.
Yeah. All right. You know the accent.
All right. Perfect. That's it. I didn't know. Okay, cool. So yeah, but now I find myself in Helsinki. I met a beautiful Finnish lady, and she enticed me over to Helsinki. So we're here after a long stint in Switzerland and actually in Munich. So I've been around Europe quite a lot now. So my accent is also kind of diluted a little bit from my original Birmingham accent as well. But
you can ask Brian for help.
Yeah, it happened to me. I was in England for 26 years. And when I used to come back to New York, people would say, "Hey, well, what are you doing with your voice? You know, you got to knock it off." I'm like, "What? I'm not doing anything. You know, that thing you're doing. Yeah, you're with us now. You don't got to talk like that no more." So there it is. I feel for you.
So, since we just started to broadcast live on Facebook, there is, of course, the question that we've got many people in the audience, they never heard anything about developer portals, and I won't come up with APIs to describe what an API is, but maybe you can just do it. But could you briefly describe what is it about developer portals?
Okay, so I think I can answer that question in a roundabout kind of way, right? So let's take something quite topical, the coronavirus or COVID at the moment. If you were, for example, a news agency like CNN or Bloomberg or the British Broadcasting Corporation, you want to be able to give to your subscribers information about the coronavirus, particularly like statistics. In your country, yesterday, 1,000 new cases of coronavirus, etc. So if we went back in time as a journalist, if you wanted to get that information, you would have to basically call up, government and say, okay, well, what were the statistics from yesterday? Okay, so that would probably be quite time consuming, right? You would spend your whole day on the telephone asking, okay, what are the statistics? So the way we handle this nowadays is that we do this in a much smarter way. So basically we use something called an application programming interface. So each authority, so for example in the UK, you've got something called the National Health System or Service, I think it is, and they publish those figures for the government. So if you're a journalist, you can effectively say, okay, well, I'm going to get that information programmatically via an interface. And probably you want to get it once or twice a day like this, right? In this case, your application would be the BBC website. Okay, so in order to do that, because you're a journalist, you're going to have to hire a developer to go ahead and get that information. So that's what happens. A developer will go to a developer portal from the NHS or from the Finnish equivalent, which is I wrote it down because it's quite crazy. What is it? It's like the Finnish Institute for Health and Welfare, right? So you go there and I know it's a big, but so basically you get a developer and they want to consume these statistics via this application programming interface, and that's how they do it. They go to the developer portal where they can see, okay, what's there, what's the value behind it, a bit of documentation, how do you use this API, and in some cases, like how do you secure that API? For example, these open statistics, anyone can use them, but if you have more sensitive data that you wouldn't want to share with everybody in an open way, you want to secure it down so that only the people who should have access to it have access to it. So that's a developer portal, is basically the conduit for a consumer of that API.
Perfect. So I love it.
I think anybody could understand that.
So we have a recording. We just drop it into the next meeting when it comes to talking about what is a developer portal and what is it for. So we've got a history with developer portals for years. We both, Allan. So I think I don't know who started to do that work on the developer portal with our API program at Swisscom. I think it was me at this time, and then we just built it up and we learned a lot.
Yeah, basically, I mean, the way this started, I joined Swisscom originally like 2012, and I was working on their CRM program. I've been doing CRM for a long, long time, and it was time for something new. So I think like 2013, something like that, we met in Zurich. And you at that point in time were working on this developer portal, which was, something completely crazy for me, right? Working in more like a back-end system where our salespeople could use it. And then you were like going out and actually talking to people, and there were like these mini hackathons and different things were going on there. It sort of, captured my imagination quite a lot at that point in time. And So I was kind of like watching you, what was going on, and you spent a lot of energy to get this developer portal out. And you were talking to developers, getting the community going, and we were producing APIs to put onto that portal, and it was all very, developer focused. But then as the story progressed over the years, as I was watching the portal, it got less and less usage as time went by, right? I mean, predominantly because I think you moved on to different things as well. There was no one to really drive it. That was one kind of aspect to it, but also it just wasn't really what we needed at that point in time, right? Yep. So to the extent that, as I got more involved with the program as well, we stopped using it completely. So we had this portal. There's nothing really wrong with it at that point in time. We just stopped using it. And I had a team, like 9 or 10 developers at the end in this team. And when we had the new API consumer, they would, for example, send the equivalent of a username and password in an email to the API consumer rather than use this developer portal. And that always shocked me. And, we had some discussions about that.
Doesn't sound very self-serve, does it?
No. And that's one of the key points that I've been looking at this for a long time, like I've said, and it's really one of these puzzles which for me remains open, right? Yeah. I really want to nail this whole developer or API portal thing so that they actually start producing value for organizations.
Everybody wants self-service, of course, and there are organizations, big telcos. These are always partner APIs or partner API products, and so it needs more than just a click and just a credit card. You need to have to assure who is on the other side somehow with a signage or something like that. So this is kind of a big company self-service. I think this could be okay, but there is one thing I think we just missed on this path is this inborn reflex of organizations who are trying to leverage APIs using, of course, a portal to make it visible. They start to talk about separating internal API portals and internal APIs from external APIs and portals. And we went through this and we decided to have one portal for everyone, visible from the outside, secured and all this stuff. What do you think about this? What would you suggest to organizations who said, we need to have an internal API program or internal API exposure layer plus developer portal?
I mean, it can be one portal. There are benefits to having one portal as opposed to two, for example, just setting it up. You set it up once with, your brand on there, etc. And then you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are some reasons why you would maybe have two portals due to some internal big company stuff. But mainly, once you've authenticated the users, you can do that for internal users. You just have different identity providers basically, and then you need to say, okay, well, the content that's available for internal guys is only viewable for internal guys, right? And then that should work basically. Yeah.
So we talked 5 minutes before we went live, and you brought up this idea to bring the focus to who is your customer. So who is the customer of developer portals? This comes up. There's always a big question mark in the faces of people I'm working with when it comes. Who actually is our customer if we're dealing with APIs?
Well, that's right. I think I was going to say there's this focus on provision all the time because it's usually coming from teams that are used to just building applications, not really interacting with the people. They're getting requirements from some business analyst. This is like the old way, I feel, the pre-digital revolution way of doing things. And now, like you say, Klumm, the focus is really on who's actually consuming these things and what kind of cool digital products are they building with the API components that they're making available. Sorry, I just thought I'd say this thing that I'm seeing is this emphasis on provision rather than consumption.
There are so much words on all of us about this topic, so go on.
Yeah, we lived it.
Allan,
it's a good one. It's a good one. So I think what we've basically seen over the last years is this: we transitioned from seeing APIs as merely an interface to seeing them as digital products, right? I mean, there's been a lot written about this. Amancio and Andrea wrote a book about it as well. There's a lot of stuff out there now about APIs as products. So you probably bumped into it at some point. And when you get down to it, there's some very basic things that make something a product. And one of those things is understanding what your target market is, right? Understanding what the value of the thing that you're building and who the target market is. So this is when you sit down with your API product manager, it should be one of the first things that comes up in conversation. And basically, what I'm seeing is with a lot of these larger organizations that have existing customers, these are like million or billion-dollar companies, and they have existing customers, existing services. They're maybe manufacturing, like my last company, Corner, we were making elevators, etc., right? And we were producing API products for our customers, which is, to say, people like architects building new companies, building new buildings in that case. And at Swisscom as well, we had a situation where we're dealing with a lot of like partners and enterprise and things like this. And the target segment is in this case, very clear, right? We knew the value of the product that we were building. We knew the customers. Okay. So the issue for me is how do you get that customer, right? And remember, a customer is very simple. Customer is the person who pays for the thing, right? If you're wondering, okay, what's the difference between a user and a customer, right? Customer is the guy who gets his checkbook out, writes it, and says, okay, yes, this solves my pain. Here's a lot of money. So how do you get this, effectively, this digital product to your customer? And what we're doing today is we've got a developer portal. And the main question I'm asking here is that if your customer went to your developer portal and they look at it, would they understand it? Would they be able to extract from that, okay, what's the value that you're providing for me? And in many cases, the answer is no. In some cases, you do a good job and you can see, okay, you've got some products there. They can maybe work it out. But they're going to get to a certain level, and then you're going to basically be throwing too many technical words at them, and they're going to sort of bow out of the conversation. And you lose that customer, right? And also, you don't have any kind of conversion there as well, right? So you don't have anything for the customer to actually like do, so they could get like an API key, but the customer doesn't want an API key. They want to give you their credit card details or something like this, right? So
Allan, you're talking like an API product manager. This is it's lovely to see these glowing eyes to see this.
Proof, people, they're out there. They exist.
So we've got many people that are writing into our chat window. I can't maintain this at the moment because I'm just seeing it's running there. We love our audience for bringing it. There are so many thumbs up for a valuable discussion, and I think we go on with this. But I want to learn more about API-able I/O. So you learned everything from the hard way. From the very beginning, you had the chance, like me, to fall into every hole on the path at least 2 to 3 times because there was no superhero at your side to just walk you around this, what we are currently doing as catalysts. But we haven't had that. But now, what problem is API-able I/O solving in the future?
So it's quite simple. It comes down to exactly what I was just talking about. It's saying, okay, we're going to treat your customer like a customer for the first time. So we're going to create digital portals, and maybe it doesn't belong on developer.yourcompany.com. Maybe you're going to put it somewhere cooler, like partner or digital dot or somewhere like this to make it immediately a little bit more friendly for your customer. And we're going to have a marketplace. So we're already developing this. We have already a small demo if anyone wants to see it. But basically, we have a marketplace which has all the usual like product stuff. So you got product images and videos and features and descriptions, and you can subscribe to a product, for example, as a customer. So very customer facing.
And can you give feedback as a customer, Allan? I mean, that's another thing I thought about is the notion of really good customer service is when you feel like you can give instant feedback and that feedback is actually being, listened to, and that, the people who are providing the product are responding to it and adjusting to your needs. Is that part of this too?
Absolutely. So you can comment upon different products there as well. We're building this thing out now as well, right? But honestly, we're looking for 3 customers that we can co-create this with, right? So I'm willing, from basis of my own experience, to go so far with this as a new digital portal, but not having a customer involved will just end up with something that I want, right? So I want now 3 customers to sort of stand up and co-create this thing with me as well, so that we produce something for everyone. And customer feedback might be important, very important to one set of customers, and not so important to other customers, etc. And we have to find this balance. But that's what we're producing. We're producing these digital portals, and also one of the really key things and really cool things, I think, is to do with allowing that customer to log into the portal and see their assets that they already have. You should be building digital products based upon your customer's assets. So if your customer is, for example, in my previous company again, if they've purchased a bunch of elevators, you see those elevators, right? And then you can apply your digital product to those elevators, right? Yes. And you see them, right? So that kind of binding your assets, right, over APIs, and the customer applies subscriptions, etc. So what ultimately happens there is that the customer goes so far and they sign maybe some contracts digitally, etc. So this thing has gone from taking 6 weeks to onboard a customer. You should hopefully be able to do it in 6 minutes. A new customer says, I want to use this digital product against this asset, right? And then we invite the developer in at the right time, right? So we don't hate developers, we love developers. We're just saying that, it needs to be 50-50, it needs to be a balance there. And the developer gets invited in. The business person, customer, has already said, okay, this is the subscription that I signed us up for. You can tailor the documentation for the API to fit that subscription, which is a really neat feature, right? So the developer, they don't have to wade through 200 pages of API documentation. They just see, okay, look, this is it. It's, you've got these methods, there's some rate limiting on there or throttling or whatever. The developer sees it immediately. Yep. And, the other key thing as well is that, what we've not seen in the past is organization and team entity as well. It's a lot of the time missing. So we found that developers signed up on behalf of an organization. Yep. Gets an API key, and then you want to change that API key, after 3 months or something, and then a developer's left the organization. He was the only one with access to it, right? So what we want to do is also implement, on the developer side, this effectively modeling the Scrum team, so there's more than one person who has access to the API as well. So a lot of cool things from both sides,
Allan, I love this idea to drive an API program. This is what you're actually doing with the heart of an API product manager, but starting at the portal and not starting at the interface, to just create this kind of flagship store. This is what I'm always saying. We have to create a flagship store with bringing everything into the shelves with the right expectation management. We don't want to see cigars next to bicycles and some spare parts for something. It has to be neat and clean in order, and it has to be fantastic, a customer experience to get there. Things have to be easy. You have to just steer your customers through that. It has to be full experience. So the plan is to create some platforms, some out of the box portal that can be changed by you to the needs of the customer, with your taking your knowledge about API products and API developer portals from the past, right?
Well, one of the things that you just made me think about is the what's really worked successfully on the programs that I've worked on is you need to have a view of what your business capabilities are. People talk about a capability view, and that's a really cool view to provide. Now, And it's part of the life cycle as well. So people have to know that they can come to this thing when they're in that part of the life cycle where they're planning out a new digital product. And I think that's where this is going to be huge value is, you go there, you work together with the team and say, hey, we can reuse this, we can extend this, but we got to find it first. So Klumm, your line of dialogue there was making me think about what are some of the ways that you could provide better searching and discoverability. Because I think one danger I see is that what I've seen is that there's just a lot of crap gets piled in to the portal, and it's only as good as the information. It's only as good as the kind of classification information. So using things like well-known industry standard taxonomies, I know a lot of people don't like that, or controlled vocabularies, and being able to describe this stuff in a more structured way. What do you think?
I think that API product management helps you out a lot here, right? And that's one of the things I want to bake into the portal going forwards from the administration point of view is that in order to create a new API product on the portal, you need to have jumped through some of these basic product management hurdles. Again, who's your customer, target segment, what's the value that this thing is providing, right? They're the key questions you need to ask, right? So when it comes to just throwing stuff up there and seeing the sticks, hoping that something goes viral. I don't know what we're doing today is we're not doing it right.
If we build it, they will come.
I also think that exactly that's it. Yeah, exactly. Build it and they will come, and it never happened, and it's not going to happen. So stop doing that. But I also think one of the great things that, coming back to your point as well, is that internally it's a much easier sell as well, right? So at the moment, what we've been doing today is that you've been going to your marketing department and you're like, hey guys, we got this API program, we've got an API portal, we're going to get developers to come up and sign up for these crazy integration interfaces, wherever. And your marketing department looks at you and says, okay, are you trying to sell a kind of beer here or what? I don't get it. Right?
So there's just this slight difference between, and now you can bring it up. You brought up the beer.
Between an IPA and API, right?
Exactly.
They sound similar, right?
Yeah.
But I tell you, I've done marketing department and marketing people, and I've seen the branding guys. The first time, you show them your API portal, you show it to the marketing and the branding guys, and they go, oh my gosh, if you really put that out there, it's got our logo. The logo doesn't have enough space around it, and things like this. Right? And they don't understand where it does anyway, right? And it's impossible for you to sort of get traction within the organization if everyone thinks you're a bit, crazy, right? But if you start the conversation, which is basically about a customer and solving your customers' pains with digital products, the likelihood that you'll have a more successful API program is increased.
We've got 2 more minutes, and so I want to ask you, will your product be platform API management platform agnostic or not?
Yes, it will be agnostic. It will work with any API gateway that has API management APIs to let you interface with it.
Perfect.
So that's all of them.
So the next question is, have you already talked to the X-Way guys?
Of course.
Yeah?
Yes,
this is
we
perfect.
We have proof of concepts running there, checking out the APIs, getting access, and getting that up and running. So hopefully X-Way will be one of the first to have our new portal, fingers crossed.
So the last question to you. In which way, and answer in one sentence, maximum 2, in which way makes API-able I/O the difference?
It makes a difference by giving your customers something that they want and need and solves their problem.
Perfect. So
love it. Love it
too. So I really encourage our audience to just go on API-able I/O. By the way, it's a fantastic website you just created there. I'm stunned. This is just super, super cool. I think this is designed so you are perfect to create developer portals if you created that site. I love it.
Thank you.
And so I encourage you to just go on the site and be happy like me about the design and what's on there. And to the audience now, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. And we'll see us next on Tuesday after the weekend, after I can leverage this video stuff here I was talking about last time. I want to say thank you to you, Allan, and of course, as always, to you, Brian, as a fantastic co-host. Thank you. And say goodbye to everyone and just close the show. Great job, Allan. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody, and thank you, Allan.
And
really great to talk to
by
you.
the way, this show is powered by Axway. Bye-bye.